Well, hello, what's up? Y'all please let me apologize for not doing a video last week. Some kind of stomach virus has hit our home pretty hard and just taken us out one by one. I'm claiming its fourth victim even last night, so it's just been a lot going on. But we are doing well, we're recovering slowly, so just anyway, please forgive me for not getting this video out last week. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has commented, all of the new subscribers. You guys are wonderful. I really appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you're here. You mean everything to us, and I mean that. In the very beginning clips, I hope you enjoyed those pretty wintry pictures. Wanted to share that. If you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, then you've already seen those, but I wanted to put those here just so you can kind of see what the weather's been like here, which is crazy because one minute it's spring, next it's winter again. So it's just one of those weird seasons, but I am very anxious for a legitimate spring season where we can start getting our hands dirty outside. What I wanted to talk about today is how we fund our homestead. So the reason I wanted to talk about that is because that was one of the questions that I had when Jeff and I were first considering becoming homesteaders. And I remember doing a little bit of research and thinking, how do other people do it? Just a little bit of background. For many years, Jeff had a really wonderful job. It's right there in our old hometown, and so it's convenient. He did work swing shift, 12-hour shifts. He worked very hard. Pay was good, benefits were good. So we were doing well, and for the last decade, I've been a stay-at-home mom, and for more than half of that time, I worked from home because I didn't like to just be home. I wanted to be home and available for my kids, but I didn't want to just be home. I wanted to work and do something for myself. So some of you may know that I did have my sign making business where I did hand painted scripture signs on wood. And when I first started doing that, and at the first mention that I was actually doing it to decorate our home, but the first mention of someone telling me that they would buy that, I was like, oh, so this is what I could do. So that kind of took off for me. Not in the sense that it would have paid the bills or whatever, but it was helping me supplement Jeff's income and helping me feel like I had a creative outlet while I was a stay-at-home mom taking care of, at the time, littles. So I will say that moving out here to the homestead has changed a lot of things. So of course, that meant Jeff had to give up that really good job with the good pay and the benefits. That also meant that I no longer had my sign shop. So we had to adapt. We had to make some adjustments. So what we're doing to pay for things, and like I said, if you followed along at all up to now, then you know that we're doing all this debt free. We do still have some debt, very little, but we're not taking on any new debt. So we did not want to take out any loans. We did not want to have anything on credit while we built this place, while we built the homestead, while we do anything. So we are progressively eliminating what little bit of debt we already had. But we are not taking on any new. So this is going to be all cash, all, things that we work towards, build ourselves as much as possible, or hire out if we can't do it. But we're just not going to be slave to a lender. We have made up our mind that we're not going to do it that way. So we have to of course we have to make money. And until, of course, in my heart of hearts, I want the homestead to fund itself at some point. So I'm doing some research on that, working towards those goals. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But what we're doing right now is Jeff has got a job here locally as a mechanic. It's very different than what he used to do, but I think he likes it better. Of course, it does not pay like what we're used to. We've had to make, adjustments there. He works 4 days a week, so he can be off on Fridays to do whatever we need to do here, because obviously we're not still done building and working on things here. So that makes him available for whatever's going on here. And I, in my case, did have to close my wood shop. That was a little bit tough for me. I had thought that I would still continue on doing something like that when I got here. I just knew it would take some time to figure it out, but honestly I have not been able to work that out as of yet. It may just be God transitioning me out of that. I do miss it. If he ever opens that door back up where I could open up a shop, then I'll do so. But he never leaves us without options. So even though I'm not making signs, I was still able to keep a shop going. So I actually changed the name of it. I was Little Cedar House there, and I closed that. We're Peppershack Trading Company now. It just sort of fits in with the lifestyle that we live now. It's more of a homestead type thing. I was still selling some of the old signs that I had, some t-shirts and stuff like that. And I found a wholesale manufacturer and made soy candles. And I'm like, I love the handmade aspect of that, since I'm not in a position to hand make things, or I wasn't at the time, in a position to hand make things myself, because we were still building our own cabin and living with my mom and all this. I was getting those on wholesale. Well, once the wholesaler had to, as everybody has had to do across the board, everybody has had to increase prices across the board. My wholesale price just about doubled, which means I would have had to double my retail price, and I just did not see that being feasible. That was just too much for me. I felt like that was going to be asked too much of my consumers. So I decided it was time for me to adapt again and learn how to make candles myself. And while I'm not copying what my wholesaler did, and I really respect them, and they were wonderful people, very kind people. It's just a choice I had to make for myself, to start making my own, because I'd already started marketing candles for my shop. People were already interested. I needed to keep that going, but I just couldn't afford it in that way anymore. So I started making my own, and while I do my own, I'm looking for my own fragrance oils, my own scents, my own names. I'm not copying anything that they did, because that is just wrong to me. And I'll eventually work on my own signature scents, but so that's what I'm doing now. So these are candles that I make. I'm very proud of these, because like I said, never thought that I'd be doing this. Was never on my radar to do. This is just living a life surrendered, and God knows I like to make things. He knows I'm a maker at heart, so I can't make signs. I make candles, and so far these have had a pretty large test pool out here. So these have actually went over very well. These are just two of the scents. I've got several, but these have actually went over very well in our community, and I have really been blessed by that. So this is what I'm working on now. I've also taught myself how to make soap. Now, I want to do goat milk soap, but goats are not part of our homestead yet. Still praying about that. But I have found that the soaps that I make, I have made my own recipe. I actually like my own recipe better than other soaps that I've bought for my skin. My skin is excessively dry year round, but more so in the winter, especially with our only source of heat in the cabin is wood heat, which typically dries you out even more. So I like my soap recipe. This is primarily lard based recipe. It's also got coconut oil and olive oil in it, and I've just started a new batch that also has castor oil in it. So I'm testing that out, but my own recipe actually does better for my skin. So there's a sense of pride and just thankfulness to God that He has allowed me to learn new skills, homestead skills too, because this is a very valuable homestead skill to have, to be able to make your own soap. So it's not only just a way that I can have a creative outlet and still work towards keeping, building my business up. That is just something I'm doing that keeps me feeling like I'm still being productive. I'm still keeping a creative mind, and still like in keeping with the homestead theme. But one thing I wanted to talk about is I've also had to take a job. So let me just be clear with you for a second, just real talk. Really felt like a failure when I had to take a job, because like I said before, I have not worked outside the home in a decade. So that hurt me a little bit. But my kids are older now. They still need me, but not near as much. Not like when they did when they were little. And with Jeff having to change jobs and making way less than he was used to making, and even though we have less debt, we don't have the bills that we used to have, because we're off grid, we're solar, there's no light bill, we have a well water the bills are different too. You would think that would offset, but with inflation, and there's still things you have to pay for, like cell phone, You still have to have gas in your car. We are not to a point where we are growing or raising all of our own food yet. We want to get to at least maybe 70% of that. We're still building the infrastructure, still working on all that. So we are still, dependent on the grocery store to a point. And then there's things like car insurance, and especially with teenage boys learning to drive, that increases all that. So things like that you cannot just stop paying. So there's still bills to pay, which means I had to go to work. And also while I'm in the transition period of learning all the new skills, the business is, it doesn't just take off overnight. When I'm learning something new, formulating everything, learning the process, because it's a brand new skill to me. So that takes time. It takes time to build your materials. It takes time to learn all the processes, formulate all your own scents and wax formulas and soap recipes and whatever else I'm doing. So all that takes time. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then suddenly you've got a market, for everything. So that means I had to take a job, which, I'm very thankful for. I was a little bit, I had to really pray, because that hurt me a little bit. I felt like I'd backed up. I'm like, we moved out here, we have less debt, less bills, all this stuff, yet I have to go back to work. It just felt backwards to me. But I can also see where God is working through this too. And also, I have a job that still allows me to be a parent. Like I told you earlier, we've had sickness in the home. I have a boss who is very understanding about that. He said he's not worried about that. If he knows if my kid is sick and I need to be here, I can be here. If I'm sick, I need to be out, perfectly fine with that. The snow, we live on a mountain. We have a very steep, long driveway, then a sketchy mountain road, cross a creek, all this stuff to get to the main highway. Sometimes those are not safe to travel when we get several inches of snow up here, and he's okay with me if I cannot get out to get to work and I have to drive 45 minutes to work. He's fine with that. The nature of what I do allows for a lot of flexibility. So the fact that I found a job like that is also, to me, just completely God's hand of provision. So I wanted to explain all that to you, but that's what we're doing. Our situation, and it's very different from any other homesteader situation, but it does help to know what other people do, just kind of get ideas. And telling you this helps me feel a little less heartsick over the fact that I have went back to work, because I really just desire to work for myself. I really desire to full-time homestead and let our homestead work for itself. There are so many plans there, so many ideas. Jeff and I talk about things all the time. So we're still working towards those things. I want to be able to provide food for our family and sell some excess. Of course, also provide meet some of the needs in our community, but also thinking up business ideas. But it all starts right now with just candles and soaps, and I still have some t-shirts and things. I have designed t-shirts. Right now the website is closed. If you ever read down into our description boxes on the videos, you'll see that there's a merch site. I have it closed right now because I have to update all the pictures. I'm taking down all the pictures of the wholesale products because I'm not providing those anymore, and I have to change them out with my own things. And that, there again, just time, just having to get them all made, get them all photographed and listed. So you won't be able to find the site. The site is there, but it is closed for now as far as sales, but it'll be open back up soon. So feel free to check that out, peppershacktradingco.com. Give me a few weeks to get that going. I'll update you on that if you're interested. But what I wanted to really talk about is, I was talking to my son, I guess a week or so ago, just about future plans and some of his heart's desires for his own future. And I remembered a verse that says, commit your activities or your work to the Lord, and your thoughts or plans, depending on what version you read, will be established. And I didn't want him to get the idea that, okay, this is my dream, I commit to the Lord, name it, claim it. We don't believe that way. But what it does mean is you surrender, do everything you do unto the Lord. I do my work. even if it's medical billing. I'm in that office representing him. I'm there to serve him, do a job well done for him. I want to be the best employee I can be in honor of God. Co-worker, I want to be a good co-worker and a friend to the other people that I work with, to create a better environment, and all that honors him. And I believe that while I'm doing whatever I do in honor of him, he will bless the fruit of it. While I also have plans and heart's desires for myself, I surrender those to him. And I was doing some research over that verse, and I learned that the word commit actually means to roll. And at first I was confused about that. I was like, how does that mean, roll? But to roll it all over onto him and put it in his capable hands, in full surrender to him. He will establish your plans. And not saying that my plan, the way I see it, is going to be, come to fruition, but while I surrender my plans to him, that also means surrendering his power and authority to change my desires to match his will for my life. So I'm surrendering that all over to him and giving him full authority over it all to see it through, and putting the success in his hands. I will do what's in front of me right now, just like having to adapt from making signs to making candles and soap. I do that. He allowed that he changed my heart's desire, gave me a new idea, and I took it, and I'm working through that. He has given me a new heart towards the fact that I have to go to work, and I'm doing that in honor of him. I don't know if that's forever. I don't know what his plan is there, but because I've seen him work through all those things, I'm trusting him to work through our future plans. My ideas for selling our own farm-raised chickens, our own farm-fresh eggs, my heart's desire to have a milk cow at some point, or at least be able to work closely with another farmer or homesteader to get farm fresh milk, just different things like that. I'd love to have goats. I'd love to make goat milk soap from my own goats. All those things, if it's in his plan, then I know it's going to succeed. If it's not his plan, then he has full authority in my heart to change that desire and show me what my desire should be for the success of my family and our homestead. So I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to tell you where my heart is with that, because it's sort of therapy to even share this with you, because like I said, I was really in a dark place for a little bit, feeling like a failure, having to go back to work, because a lot of the homesteaders I follow, they don't work. Everything they do is their own business from their home. They're even, retiring spouses, and spouses are coming home to work for the farm full time and stuff like that. And yes, that's a dream of mine, but we're not there yet. We are still in the early stages of all this. So I can't compare my brand new start to someone who's been doing this for 10 years. There's just a difference there. So so that in a nutshell is how we take care of ourselves here, how we fund our homestead. We both work outside the home. I'm also still working on developing my own products for market. So yeah, that's and just remaining debt free. Look, some of the best things you can do for yourself financially is to remain debt free. Be frugal with your purchases. We don't buy things we don't need. On occasion, I'm not saying we live so strict that we don't ever have a good time. That's not the case. But we're not the type that's just gonna go out there and spend money. We just don't. We save money, and in fact, even though we make a lot less than what we're used to, we are able to save more than we did before. We were truly paycheck to paycheck before, but now, even though we make a fraction of what we used to make, we are saving money. So and all that, we have a plan for that. We have our emergency fund set up, and if you follow Dave Ramsey, I used to, but that's an important thing. But we have a small emergency fund just in case. But then we're also saving for other things, and we're working to take care of ourselves. So there is a sense of pride in that. So that's pretty much it. And like I said, I wanted to share that with you. One, because like I said, it was a question I had, and I was doing some research, following other homesteaders, like, what are they doing? I've actually joined some courses of how to make your homestead pay for itself, learning a ton doing that. Got to figure out some licensing for things, and just all the legwork that goes into figuring out what you're able to sell to the public. But all that takes time, and we have to have money in the meantime. So while I'm building on those skills, building on all the legalities of everything, I go to work and you know, we support our family. So like I said, I'm Proverbs 16:3, committing it to the Lord for him to establish my plans. And that means in his way, in his perfect will, because my plans are not always the best plans. So he has full reign over that. And I hope that gives you a sense of encouragement. I hope that you hear my heart in that. I know that not all of you may be believers, and that's perfectly fine. Please don't bail out of the channel, because you still have value to us. You still, your presence still means a lot to us. So, but this is just who we are, and it's going to be reflected in our life and everything that we do. So I can't ever pretend like that's, our faith is not a factor, because it's pretty much central to all that we are. For those of you that don't know our story, I wanted to mention we do have the full story, and I'll put a link to that video in the description box. But also I'll put a link if I can, because when we do our full story, that's like an hour long. I get that you may not have time or care to sit through all that, and we ramble a good bit. But there is a 4-minute gist and a much higher quality video that I will try to link below too, that you can watch and kind of know who we are and why we have the faith that we have and why we live by that. Focus on the Family, if you're familiar with that organization, they actually came out to our homestead to film our story, which was a huge blessing and honor. Not for us, it's not about us, but once they knew about our story, they wanted to share the story and, in a sense, to give someone else some hope. Focus on the Family did a wonderful job telling all the important parts of the story in just a short clip, and it's on their YouTube and Facebook pages, and I'll try to link it below if you'd like to see who we really are and why our faith is what it is. But this also, because I've seen him do the impossible in that time in our life, that I know that he's still working in our life here, and the things that I feel like are impossible here, he'll make it happen. He will see it through. So I hope this brings some encouragement to you. I hope that you hear my heart in all this. So if you're considering homesteading, think it through, commit it to the Lord, pray over it, and move forward. Take the step that's right in front of you. Don't think about people who are 10 years ahead of you. Start where you are and do what you can with what you have. And take that one step, that whatever's in your power right now. All that was in my power was to make candles and soap for a time. So that's where I started, and I'm building on that. When God reveals the next step, I will move forward in that. So we're just taking it a day at a time, a prayer at a time, and ready to see where he takes us from here. And I'm so glad that you guys are here for the ride. So please stay with us. Share this channel if you think that it will be an inspiration to anyone else, because that's really our goal. We want to record our adventure so we can look back at it, but we're sharing it with you guys for just to be encouraged, because I know that's why I watch YouTube channels, the ones that I watch, so I can find encouragement, because some days are hard. But when I can look and see that this person made it and they struggled like we did it at some point, then I feel motivated to keep moving. So thank you for listening to me ramble. I hope that I'm leaving you with a sense of encouragement and hope. And well, I guess that's it. And we will see you next time.